The last little bit of our assessment is, again, making sure we're doing that upper quarter screen to determine any sensation or motor problems that could arise from this particular injury. A lot of times when we are dealing with the wrist, the hand, we have that acute mechanism, but a lot of times it's going to be something that has occurred over time. So we may be seeing that there is muscle atrophy due to some sort of nerve impingement or entrapment. A lot of stuff really happens at the elbow, but the signs and symptoms show up into the wrist and the hand. So we need to be aware of not only the nerve roots and that distribution pattern for that, but then how that all transitions into the branches and going down the extremity there. So our C5 dermatomes, we'll start dermatomes first. C5 is going to be our lateral arm, the deltoid patch for sensation wise. Making sure that the athlete or patient stays in our supinated or anatomical position makes this a lot easier as well. Our C6 is going to go down the lateral part of our arm into our thumb and our index finger. C7 is going to be our middle finger. C8 is going to take its way into the fourth and fifth fingers up the medial elbow. Our T1 is going to be our elbow and up into the medial arm, and then T2 is actually up into the armpit, right? So that's going to be our nerve root dermatome pattern. When we are breaking down this hand and the wrist for the dermatomes, the radial nerve is going to be the dorsal web space, the thumb, and the index finger, right? So it's going to be that pattern that we're going to be feeling and sensing. The median nerve is going to be the distal radial aspect of the finger. Okay, distal radial aspect of the index finger is where going to be that median nerve comes through. And then the ulnar nerve is going to be that distal side of the fifth finger. If you remember in this chapter, I believe it's this chapter, might be the elbow as well, there's a picture of the hand and it's got the distribution patterns, palmarly and dorsally. That's a really great picture to see and to know so that you kind of understand the distribution patterns for that. When it comes to the myotomes for our nerve roots and then our, as we get into our radial, median, and ulnar nerves, we have shoulder abduction for C5. C6 is going to be elbow flexion and wrist extension. C7 is going to be elbow extension and wrist flexion. Our C8 is opposition. T1 is going to be finger adduction. And when we talk about our myotomes within the hand, again, some of this is going to be a little bit redundant, right? Our radial nerve is going to be what does our elbow extension and wrist flexion, right? So that's our radial nerve. Our median nerve is going to be the thumb pinch, specifically our opposition, as well as our adduction or abduction. And then the ulnar nerve is going to be abduction of the fifth. So making sure they can go or resist against that. Remember, myotomes, yes, we can just assess can they do those movements, but a true upper quarter screen for myotomes is going to be doing that break testing. So getting them into that position, don't let me break you, and you're providing as much pressure as you can to make sure they can sustain that motion for whatever you're doing. So if you're doing, wrist flexion or elbow flexion, wrist extension, you're doing both pieces to give them the most resistance. We also have functional